Hey there, welcome. Today we are breaking down this image and I'm going to show you behind the scenes all the different things that went into making this one of my favorite shots from 2020. Hey there, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Katelyn James. This is a place where we like to empower photographers to build profitable and purposeful businesses while also letting you in the behind the scenes of our everyday life. Today I am breaking down an image from a wedding that I shot in the fall of 2020. I loved this wedding. I loved this bride and groom. Everything about this day was beautiful. So we actually allow our KJ All Access members to watch this entire wedding day, the whole thing. And I titled this wedding for KJ All Access an ideal wedding day because it was literally that beautiful and that perfect. But I will say that there were a lot of decisions that went into making it so beautiful. There was a lot of moments where I had to see something for what it could be and not necessarily what it was. And that is a great example of what you're gonna see in this clip. So what you're about to see in this clip is me walking to a quick portrait location. So we had just finished bridal party portraits, guests were starting to arrive, and I saw this one little spot at the edge of like the water. It was like a little lake, but I think kind of maybe a retaining pond. But it was a decent sized little body of water. But my goal was not to go get water shots, even though I think a lot of people would think like, oh, that's so photogenic, go shoot by the water. I was shooting by the water, but the water is not what drew me in. What drew me in was that there was a mowed field, and then at the edge of the mowed field, there was some tall, like wispy grass. And if you've followed me for any length of time, you know I love the wispy grass. Wispy grass, tall wispy grass, it does so many things. It diffuses light, it softens an image, it creates foreground, it surrounds and frames the couple. It's amazing. I don't like mowed grass, I like tall wispy grass. So I found this on the edge of this open field, and there were some weeds that had some blooms on them, so like white florals. Now we walk up to this setting, and I'm not trying to deal with the water. The water is great, but that's not what I want to capture. What I want to capture is some soft foreground. I want to use the fact that this tall wispy grass is not surrounded by a bunch of a row of dark trees. Instead, there's an opening to a grove behind it, and there are some trees that will frame it on the left and a slight tree that will frame it on the right. We have access to secondary light, which if you are in lighting and location course, you know that that is ideal for any type of backlit situation. It was perfect, except for one little thing. And you'll see what I'm talking about when we watch this clip.
This is gonna seem really weird. Yeah, y'all can go on in there. Creating more foreground.
Okay, so I want you to look where Michael is standing and then look at the flowery like weeds that are to kind of the left of him, our left. And I can't put the couple there and set them in between those weeds because that tree would be behind them. I want the grove, like that opening, to be behind them. It's going to be brighter, lighter, airier. And so, but there's no weeds, no flowers like to the right of where Michael is. So there would be these pretty white flowers in the foreground on the left, but nothing on the right. So because there's so much like thick grass there, I plucked up some of the weeds from up the hill that were really thick and full. And then Michael eventually gets some more, and we kind of added our own weeds to that area. And honestly, I know it sounds crazy to be that picky, but I think it made all these portraits more magical because no one's looking at those weeds thinking, oh, there's white flowers on both sides. But I think it would be, sorry, that's Graham. I think it would be obvious, at least in my opinion, I think it'd be obvious to have foreground on one side and not the other.
I want more, I need it to be over here. We're gonna act like this is real.
I love it.
That looks great though, I think.
Hopefully it's not poisonous.
Yeah. Could you actually go do more? While I get the stickiness off my hands from whatever I just grabbed, right there is perfect. Yeah. It's worth it though. I need a little, are you good? You good there? Here we go. Oh, and Michael, actually, can you put it a little closer to them? Well, that looks a little crooked. Okay, that's perfect. That is perfect. So you guys can face each other. All right. The dress can lightly probably just sit, and it won't be too bad, I promise. There we go. Gorgeous. Forehead can touch. Oh my goodness gracious. Don't move, you guys. This is beautiful. Couple more. Now, just Melanie, I'm going to have you look over the shoulder.
I think we can be late to the ceremony for this.
Oh, yes. Don't worry. We won't be here for 30 minutes. Light smile. I know we got sun, but I think it's still fine. Beautiful. Melanie, let those eyes fall nice and low. Gorgeous. Almost done.
So really quick, I want you to think about if they didn't have foreground, if they were just standing in the cut grass in front of these weeds, it wouldn't look as complete and it wouldn't look as magical and soft and glowy and romantic. It's worth it to step into tall grass. It's always worth it.
Good. Gorgeous. You can both close your eyes. Is it okay if I get close to them or do you need me to stay back?
Let's go.
Okay. You guys are looking at each other, smiling. Gorgeous. Laughing, rubbing noses. I know that's weird, but rubbing noses. Beautiful. You can kiss her on the forehead. Beautiful. Oh my goodness. Mel, you can push that hair back if you want, just that one little piece. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Just Melanie's looking at me. Oh heavens. You can smile, doing a little Melanie laugh. He's doing a Jonathan laugh with his dimples. I just swallowed a piece of hair, sorry. Way to kill a romantic moment, Katelyn. Hold on 1 second, I gotta make a little adjustment. There you go. Gorgeous. And both of you can look at me and smile. Your temples can touch. Wow. Let me back up. I'm gonna get a full body shot and then I'm gonna do an even wider shot. So this is what I'm thinking. Stay like you are. Don't actually touch foreheads, just get really close because the light is framing you perfectly. So flowers a little lower, you can hold hands down nice and low. If it's okay with you, I'm gonna really back up and try to frame them with this whole little, Michael, I might have to get you to back up, sorry. You can get a little closer forehead to forehead, just a little. Yes, I'm cropping out, oh my gosh. Beautiful. Let's do one model shot. Jonathan, you're looking at your ceremony venue. Melanie's looking right at me. Perfect. Oh, don't move. Oh my gosh. And both of you are looking at each other. You can put an arm around her waist. Pull her in for a light kiss. Smiling afterwards. Oh my gosh, one more forehead kiss. I'm freaking out, guys.
All right, so you saw behind the scenes, you saw what it looked like. I was very pregnant with our fourth child, but this was such a win for me. It was before the ceremony, and I just felt like, oh, we're getting good stuff. And I just want to emphasize it, like when you find a good location, you just want to stay there as long as you possibly can and get as much variety as possible. It makes such beautiful album spreads. So when you look at this image, there's a few things that I love so much about this. One, I love that they are somewhat encompassed by and framed by some of the surrounding trees. So we have different layers of trees, but I place them strategically in between this little guy and this guy. And the reason I love this so much as well is because back here we have nothing. It's just kind of a wide open grove with tall grasses that are absorbing some of that harsh light. It allows me, this placement also allows me to have a little bit of like rim lighting, like haloed lighting on the top of their heads. But this tree in the background is adding some substance and some depth. So it doesn't look super overexposed behind them. That is what makes this location work so well, is because we have layers upon layers, but it's not too heavy and it's not too bright. Sometimes it's hard to find a good in-between middle of the road location that offers all of these things. And so do you have to do anything extra location? Could I have just brought them to this location and started shooting without picking extra flowers and sticking them down, in the foreground? Sure, you could have. But let me delete some of this so you can see what I'm talking about. When I approached this location originally, I knew I wanted to place them right in between those two trees, like I just showed you. I also knew that I loved what was happening right here and right here. But setting them there, it's not going to make that big of an impact. So I knew I wanted to add a little something extra. So I added this whole area. Maybe I should show it like this. I added this whole area of florals by just stealing them from up on the hill, breaking them off, stuffing them into the weeds here. And that is kind of mirroring the same thing that's happening with these trees. So I'm centering them, framing them with the trees, and then I added this to make sure they were framed all the way around by the flowers. So it almost looks like they are being perfectly surrounded by softness, by like feminine foreground. And that's what makes this shot one of my favorites. Now, once I got them in this situation, I was drawn to this location because of the foreground opportunities. But once I got them there, I realized, gosh, this is really good light. I kept them somewhat in this same like foot pattern, and I did as many poses as humanly possible. Now, I probably could have done a little bit more, but in the span of time, I feel like I worked fast and I kept their pose somewhat similar by just changing little tiny things. And I zoomed in, I zoomed out, I changed their arm poses, I changed their motion a little bit in order to get as many different varieties of portraits as I could before we had to run and hide her before the ceremony. All right, so in this image, it's important to point out that this is a completely different look than the image I was just showing you. Majority of the images shot in this location were shot a lot tighter and a lot closer to the couple, and we cropped out this area of the image. Why? It is slightly overexposed. I still think this is a beautiful image, and it's one of my favorites. We used it in the album. I used it on the blog post. But majority of the photos were shot where you could only see this. And the reason why this works so well is because imagine if their faces and their heads were against this background. Everything would look overexposed. It's almost as if these trees, they don't seem significant, but they are. These trees in the background almost protect them and protect the image from looking like it's way too overexposed. So when I think about this composition, I think pulling back, making this shot look great. I was thinking about there's a line here. There's also, I kind of see like a line here, pulling your eye to the couple. So this is really beautiful negative space. But I didn't shoot the whole thing like that. Why? Because I think the best lighting, the best background is coming from this section right here. I also want to point out that 85mm is making these trees look like they are almost flat against this area. Like it's the compression of that lens is making it look like these trees and even like this part of the image is a lot closer to the couple. It creates like this wall of bokeh behind the couple that makes situations and scenarios like this work a lot better. If you shot this with a 35mm, one, you couldn't crop with their feet this close to the bottom of the frame. You would see that line of mowed grass. If you shot with a 35, you would not have this type of compression and bokeh in the background, and you wouldn't have the softness of the harsh light because you wouldn't have that extra compression. You maybe could get a similar look with a 50, but I think the 85mm is kind of the star of the show when it comes to shooting this wide shot and really shooting in this area in general. I use the 85 so much in harsh light, and I do it because the compression that I get from that lens takes those harsh highlights and makes them a little bit more subtle. So overall, great win as far as shooting in the middle of the day. This was shot literally at like 1:30 p.m. I'm pretty sure. I could look back at the timeline and tell you, but it was the middle of the day. It was before the ceremony and it was bright. It was really bright. And so I remember finding this spot. There weren't really any other areas in that whole venue like this, and just considering it as such a win. So I am thankful that you tuned in. If this was helpful and you would like to watch me shoot this entire wedding day, plus pretty much any wedding that I've shot in the last 3 years, you can sign up for KJ All Access at the link below. If you're not sure if KJ All Access is a good fit for you and where you are in your photography journey, there's actually a free trial that you can try out, and that is linked below as well. So I am thrilled that you tuned in. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any Behind the Image series episodes that are coming in the future. Bye. Bye.